Hello and welcome. Today we are chatting Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, and this is a book about some stuff. My goal here is to be as cryptic as possible and to try not to give too much away, so it is obviously going to be quite spoiler free because I want you to go into this book exactly how I did, which was completely blind. I knew nothing about this book. It was recommended to me by a friend who said, just read it, don't look anything about it up, and all I knew was, ooh, Seder, and that's it. Nothing else. And I really think that this added to my experience when reading this book. So I'm gonna try and let you have the exact same experience that I did. Piranesi by Susanna Clarke is a fantasy book that takes place in a world completely unlike our own. It is a world that is just filled with unique statues and endless always. And at first this idea really warped me because I was trying to keep track of all the different vestibules and all the different hallways that make up this giant house. And I was trying to mentally construct this setting, and honestly, do not bother. Just accept that this place is going to remain a complete mystery to you and you are not going to be able to map it out. The story follows a man exploring this labyrinth, and he has an impeccable memory. He remembers every single one of the thousands of unique statues that make up these endless hallways and endless levels of this house. These statues are pretty much all that keep this man company. There are 15 other people that live in this world, but only 2 of them live. That of Piranesi, our protagonist, and the other. And they both have very different goals. Susanna Clarke does a great job of keeping the cards close to her chest and slowly peeling back the layers of this story through a series of journal entries. For a strange world, it seems pleasant until it doesn't. It's only about 240 pages long or so, so I read it in about 3 sittings. Clarke's prose is so easy and it flows really well. You find yourself turning page after page after page very quickly. It is written in a series of journal entries from the perspective of Piranesi, and he is just so lovely. I thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with him, and he's just such a little optimist. And he's contrasts quite heavily against the other, who is very driven. That guy has goals and he wants them achieved. But my guy Piranesi, he's just chilling. He's happy fishing, exploring this labyrinth, and just making all his little discoveries. He's a happy lad living in this house that he calls a home. But over the first 20% or so, I would say it's a little bit slow as we explore the house and all of his little quirks. But if you look closely, there are strange things start to happen. Little bits of dialogue or little observations that he makes, and it starts to hint at something more. The beauty of epic fantasy and these tomes, despite being so thick, people love them because you get to spend so much time with them. You get to know the world and the characters so intimately. You become part of it all. And the only way to move on is by grabbing another one and starting it all again. And I've always found that standalones kind of struggle with this because they're so short. I'm always on the lookout for good ones, so let me know if you have some that do a really good job of that, because I always find myself gravitating towards things like Rirria Chronicles and the works of Joe Abercrombie because they have the leg up of an established world and established characters that you find yourself gravitating back to. But Susanna Clarke's choice of using journal entries to tell this standalone story gives you a chance to get inside the head of Piranesi. He becomes so familiar to the reader, and by the end of it, you are just so attached to him. This book is fantastic. Piranesi's unwavering positivity and belief in the house makes for such a delightful read. There were way too many times I found myself just smiling at a thought or an observation that Piranesi makes. Even in a crisis, he's just so pleasant. If you're looking for something short that will leave you scratching your head but endlessly smiling, check out Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one.